Hey everybody, welcome back to Off-Road Independence. My name is Eric McGrew, and today we are going to be talking about installing a Smittybilt winch in your winch bumper. Please give it a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to comment, share, and subscribe. Beside the subscription button on YouTube, hit that bell. Don't miss one video. Also, don't forget to check out my Patreon. If you guys want to help out, that would be awesome. Having $1 a month from you guys could make a huge difference in what I can do with this channel. And I look forward to making a lot more videos for you guys. So I've had a number of questions about the Smittybilt winch. Everybody wants to know what I think about it and that kind of stuff. And I understand. I'm getting around to all these videos. I have a lot of videos I have to edit and put out and stuff. So please bear with me. But first off, before we get into how well it works or doesn't work, we're going to get into how to install it. So installation of this winch is actually pretty simple on just about any bumper. And if you have one of the top mount bumpers, it's even more simple because you just have to be able to get your hands to the underside of the bumper to tighten down the nut and the washer and all that kind of stuff, and lock washer, and your winch will sit on top. So that's actually pretty simple, but either way, there's a few things that you have to do. So first off, when you get started, what you'll want to do is make sure that all your components are out of the box. Make sure you haven't missed any of the components that might be hidden in styrofoam or whatever. Make sure that you have the installation instructions in front of you, especially if you've never done this, because even though it's fairly simple, there's a number of pieces and you want to make sure you have them all there, all put together correctly, and that you have them on there securely, because last thing you want to do is have your winch halfway mounted, try to use it and it rip it off your bumper or do damage to your truck. So once you've gotten everything laid out, you're going to want your winch, your control box or solenoid box, as some people call them, your fair lead, your winch hook, whatever kind it is, whether you're using the factory hook that comes with it or an aftermarket hook. And then you're going to want all the cables that go along with it, and you're going to need a few basic tools like Allen wrenches. You're going to need probably sockets, ratchets, and maybe even a crescent wrench depending on the kind of bumper you have. And then you're going to need also probably a Phillips head screwdriver on some of the winches. So I'm working with the winch that you see here installed in my truck, which is a Smittybilt XRC 9500. It's the base model. It was like the $300 winch. It comes with a cable. It also is not water sealed. So that's, you know, it may vary slightly on what you have to do depending on the quality of winch that you have as well, but they're all pretty simple. I've installed a Smittybilt and a Warren, and I've helped other people with other kinds like Harbor Freight, Badlands winches, whatever. So once you've got everything laid out, what you're going to do now is, in my case, I had to take the bumper off the truck because it's an enclosed bumper and the winch sits down in there, and I couldn't get to it. Couldn't get to the winch plate mount, and I couldn't get the winch inside the bumper. So you want to do that, and then you want to put the bumper face down, probably, to get the winch, you know, aligned a little bit. And you're going to want to test align it all to make sure that the mount holes on the bottom of the winch align with the mount holes on your winch plate. They should, but some brands don't, you know, aftermarket winch plates don't always cut holes exact and stuff like that. So before you start doing all this stuff, you want to try to make sure it fits. And then once you've assured that your winch will align with the holes in the winch mount plate, then what you're going to want to do is probably go ahead and mount your fair lead to the front of your bumper. That's because the bolts there will be hidden if you don't once you put the winch in, and you can't tighten them down very well. So always put your fair lead on first, at least on plate bumpers and things like that. If you have a bracket, you may do that afterwards. So put that on, and then when you get your winch ready to put in, loosen the strap that holds the cable tight to the drum so that you can put the loop of the cable through the fair lead, and then you're going to want to make sure you hold it with something. You can use zip ties, you can use the rubber strap that comes on some of the winches, like on the Smittybilt. Make sure that you keep that cable so it doesn't pull back through into the drum or put too much slack in the drum, or that it gets bound up and you can't move your winch into place like you need it to. Now you're going to want to make sure that the square nuts that go in the base of the winch mount base, not the winch mount plate, but the actual base of the winch itself, make sure those square nuts are in their slots, because on a lot of winches they are loose and they shift around and they can easily fall out. And then once that's done, you're going to want to put your washer with your lock washer and then your bolt and screw it up into the base of the winch, making sure that it's snug but not absolutely tight. The reason for this is because you've got to attach some cables, and I should say that in some cases you'll have to evaluate your own winch bumper, but sometimes it's better to attach the cables to the bottom of the winch motor before you put it on the winch mount plate, because some winch mount plates are a little tight and sometimes you have to run them through a hole in the winch mount plate so that they come out in the right position and they don't rub on the edge of the winch mount plate and strip them and things like that. Then once you have that done, what you're going to do after that is you're going to make sure everything aligns, everything fits, and you're going to look at how your cables are going to run to make sure that they are going to not be kinked too hard and cause undue wear and fatigue on the cable, so that they might break over time with the rattling of off-roading. And you're going to want to make sure that your lock and free spool lever is in a position that it's not hitting any part of your truck, like the grill or the bumper in any place. If it is, then you need to readjust some things. You might need to auger out some holes on your bumper so that you can pull it forward a quarter of an inch or whatever it might be. And also, if you have like a Warren or some of the other winches, you can a lot of times clock those houses, which means you can take all the Allen bolts out of the planetary gear side where the locking mechanism is, the lever for lock and free, and you can actually unbolt all those, and since they're keyed, you can slide it off slightly, twist it, and then put it back on to give you just a little bit more freedom. Unfortunately, the Smittybilt XRC 9500 base model does not allow you to clock the housing as far as I could figure out, and so I actually had to cut my handle down slightly, just like ½ an inch off, so that it would pass by the grill and not rub anything. Still gave me plenty of space to grab it with, but I did have to cut it down slightly so that that would work. Now once you've made sure all of that's in good shape, you're going to want to make sure that you can get your solenoid box mounted. Once again, this all may vary depending on the kind of bumper you have, but most plate bumpers are the same kind of setup, and when you go to do your mounting on the winch of the solenoid box, you'll usually find that in the packaging there is a packet of brackets, and you may have to take some Allen heads out of the back of the solenoid, put those brackets on there, and then you may have to bolt it to different areas on the winch itself. There may be set screws that put tension, there may be actually mount holes on the winch itself. Really depends on the winch that you're using, but the instructions should tell you very clearly, and generally just looking around a little bit you can kind of figure out how things go. However, if you don't want your solenoid box like mine on the front, what you may need to do then is you may need to fabricate or figure out how to mount certain brackets that came with a package under your hood in the engine compartment. Some people prefer it there. That's fine too. Just figure out what's best for you and how you want it done, and you'll have to mount that. And I usually mount my solenoid boxes after the winch is in, But every once in a while you run into a problem and you can't do that. You have to mount it before. So read the instructions. That's very important because each winch may be slightly different. And then once all that's done, you're going to want to make sure that your cables are in a good position. And then you're going to want to remount your bumper. And then once you've remounted your bumper, you're going to have to leave your bumper loose typically. You don't want to remount it tight against the chassis. You want it loose so you can shift it slightly here and there. And you're going to want to stick your arms up and run your cables up through the grill or wherever it may be. Just make sure that your cables aren't in contact with sharp edges that may rub them raw, and make sure that you don't have your cables anywhere near the fan that the fan may kick on, and on rough roads they may bounce into the fan. Now another thing to always do, that I always do, is I always use zip ties to loop excess cable and then put it together, and then I zip tie it to the core support or the grill or wherever might be a stable and secure area, so that those zip tie or those cables can hang there and not flop around everywhere and cause issues beating on anything or getting cut and then shorting out. So once that's done, then you're going to mount your bumper solidly. You're going to tighten down everything. Make sure you have a breaker bar or you know, a torque bar, and torque them down. You're going to want as much force as you can get to tighten those on. Impact guns are good as well, because you don't want your bumper to slide, shift, or tilt forward, up or down under load, and because you don't want it to run into your grill and those kind of things. Then once all that's done, it's time to check it. I usually check my wiring before I tighten everything down, just to make sure the winch works. You don't have to winch it out very far. Just make sure that you have all the wires in the right area, because if you don't, then you have to take it all off and rewire it. But there's only like 6 wires, so it's not hugely complicated, or 6 cables really. And then once that's all tightened down, next thing you should do is always go out somewhere, extend your cable all the way out till it's about 1 roll. You know, you don't want it to go all the way to the end where it's just the set pin holding it, because you don't want to pull on that. Make sure there's 1 loop around the drum, and then draw your cable in under the weight of the vehicle. And if it's on a flat area or a slight downslope, make sure somebody's in the vehicle that can just barely touch the brakes to keep tension on that cable, and roll it up until it is in a tight spool around the drum and it's as even as possible. Once you've got that done, you're ready to go. Your winch is ready to be used, and you can go out and have tons of fun out in the woods. So hope that helps you guys out, understand how to install a winch. I might do another video too, but I think this is a pretty good overview of how to do it. It's pretty simple. There's not much to it. And I hope that you guys like the video. Please give it a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to comment, share, and subscribe. Beside the subscription button on YouTube, hit that bell. Don't miss one video. Also, don't forget to check out my Patreon if you guys want to help out. That would be awesome. Having $1 a month from you guys could make a huge difference in what I can do with this channel. And I look forward to making a lot more videos for you guys. So see you in the future. Thanks.